Hi! Today I'm going to give you a comprehensive overview of the TEAS 7. Before we dive in, let's hear what some of our customers have to say about our TEAS 7 study materials. Brooke told us, "This is the only program that I used to study, and I passed my TEAS on the first try." Kai wrote that our TEAS study guide was one of the key tools that helped her do well on the test because the content and questions were so similar to the official exam. We believe you can succeed on this exam too. To help you prepare, I'm going to walk you through the format of the TEAS 7 test. We'll take a look at what to expect in each section of the test, and we'll go over lots of practice questions to make sure you're ready. The ATI TEAS 7 covers every subject a beginning nursing student will be expected to know upon getting into nursing school. Before we go into what these specific skills are, I want to clarify that there will be nothing on the TEAS 7 that you haven't already seen before. In fact, the material included on the exam will never go beyond subjects you learned throughout middle and high school. The TEAS 7 spans 170 questions total. However, your score will only be affected by 150 of these questions. The other 20 sample questions will evaluate you differently, as they're meant for pre-testing purposes and grant no actual points toward your score. The few unscored questions you'll find serve as what could potentially appear on future releases of the exam and are meant to gauge which questions should be included and which could be too challenging or otherwise unfitting. As you're probably aware, they've recently moved from the TEAS 6 to the TEAS 7. As you can see in the chart, a chemistry subcategory and a biology subcategory have been added to the overall science category of the TEAS version 7. The English and language usage category has been expanded in the new version of the exam as well. On the TEAS 6, multiple choice questions were the only type of questions you were given. This has changed on the TEAS 7. The TEAS 7 features 4 new question types, in addition to multiple choice if you're taking the test on a computer. Multiple choice questions provide 4 answer choices, with only one option available to select as the correct answer. In addition to text, some questions include charts, exhibits, and graphics. Multiple select questions provide 4 or more answer choices, and more than one answer choice may be correct. For these questions, a prompt appears asking you to select all that apply. To correctly answer a question, you must select all correct answers. If you select any incorrect answer choices and/or do not select all of the correct answer choices, that question is scored as incorrect. No partial credit is given. Supply answer questions do not provide answer choices. Instead, the question asks you to fill in the blank or to simply answer the question provided. Words and numbers are both acceptable as answers depending on the question. Hotspot questions provide an image containing between 2 and 5 clickable areas. You must click on the area of the image that correctly answers the question. Ordered response questions require you to correctly order a set of given responses. Each question provides between 4 and 6 responses, and you must drag each option from a box on the left to a box on the right. If any response option is out of order, the entire question is scored as incorrect. No partial credit is given. Our online course includes hundreds of practice questions, so be sure to pick that up if you need more practice. Link in the description. Each question on the exam can be split into one of 4 categories: reading, science, mathematics, and English and language usage. The full time span for the test is 209 minutes, or 3.5 hours, with an additional 10-minute break after the mathematics section. Very rarely will you encounter any sort of standardized test that assesses your writing ability but neglects your reading ability. The two unavoidably go hand in hand. Both doctors and patients will provide you with some sort of written document, often in the form of medical documents. Knowing how to read and interpret them is the second half of communicating effectively and ensuring you will be a valuable asset to any medical staff you join, as well as fit for proper nursing education. The reading section contains 45 questions with a time limit of 55 minutes. 6 of these are pre-test unscored questions. There are 3 categories in this section: key ideas and details, craft and structure, and integration of knowledge and ideas. Each of them evaluates a specific, complex nuance of the reading process. The key ideas and details category deals with the more objective aspects of writing, specifically within the realm of factual evidence and its usage, as well as the structuring of persuasive arguments. To properly answer the 15 questions under this category, you will need to know how to summarize a multi-paragraph text, make inferences and draw conclusions about a text's purpose and meaning, demonstrate comprehension of written directions, locate specific information in a text, analyze, interpret, and apply information from charts, graphs, and other visuals, and interpret events in a sequence. The craft and structure category centers its 9 questions on the stylistic aspects of writing. You will be asked to distinguish between fact and opinion, use context to interpret the meaning of words and phrases, and evaluate an author's purpose and point of view in a given text. Integration of knowledge and ideas deals primarily with research and evidence. For the 15 questions under this category, you will have to do the following tasks. Use evidence from a text to make predictions and inferences and to draw conclusions. Compare and contrast the themes expressed in one or more texts. Evaluate an argument. And evaluate and integrate data from multiple sources across various formats. Let's go over a few practice questions now. Number 1. Which of the following is most important when drawing conclusions from a text? A. The conclusions make sense to others. B. The conclusions are supported directly by the text. C. The conclusions agree with previous convictions. Or D. The conclusions align with the author's purpose for writing the text. The correct answer is B. It is important to be careful to draw your conclusions from evidence directly supported in the text. This ensures you have come to a logical conclusion, which will help you determine whether you agree with the writer or not. If the author intended for the reader to draw a certain conclusion, then you can expect the arguments and details presented will lead you to that conclusion. Sometimes, several conclusions can be drawn from the same passage, but you must be careful that they are actually supported by the text. Number 2. Which of the following sentences contains a metaphor? A. She could not remember the last time she felt so lost, perhaps not since before the accident. B. The snow blanketed the small town in a pristine white quilt. C. Despite his best efforts, the group grew more and more unruly as the party continued. Or D. Without a sound, she returned to the night as quickly as she had come. The correct answer is B. Metaphors are like similes in that they are used to express comparisons, but metaphors do so in a way that allows the author to describe an item without being direct and obvious. Instead of using like or as, metaphors state that one thing is another thing. Choice B uses metaphor by saying that the snow is a quilt blanketing the small town. The other answer choices don't contain a metaphor or comparison of any kind. You would be hard-pressed to find any science-based discipline that doesn't also utilize math in some shape or form. Nursing is no exception. You'll constantly have to keep track of numerical information when it comes to your future career, from the rates of a patient's vitals to the precise dosage to give the patient for treatment. Numbers will be all around you as an integral part of your field. Accordingly, the TEAS 7 has a section devoted to testing your mathematical abilities for 57 minutes. Spanning 38 questions in length, the math section will assess 2 specific question categories: numbers and algebra, and measurement and data. For the 16 questions, 4 unscored, in the numbers and algebra category, you will have to work with various types of numerical expressions, ratios, rational numbers, proportions, estimations, and percentages. Here's what you'll be asked to do. Convert among non-negative fractions, decimals, and percentages. Perform arithmetic operations with rational numbers. Compare and order rational numbers. Solve equations with one variable. Solve real-world problems using one or multi-step operations with real numbers. solve real-world problems involving percentages, apply estimation strategies and rounding rules to real-world problems, solve real-world problems involving proportions, ratios, and rates of change, and solve real-world situations using expressions, equations, and inequalities. Measurement and data deals with quantitative data. More specifically, the 18 questions in this section are about various units of measurement, different types of data presentations, and several geometric and statistical properties and principles. Here's a closer look at what you'll be asked to do. Interpret relevant information from tables, charts, and graphs. Evaluate the information in datasets, tables, charts, and graphs using statistics. Explain the relationship between two variables. Calculate geometric quantities. Convert within and between standard and metric systems. Here are some practice questions for you. Number 1. If Stella's current weight is 56 kilograms, which of the following is her approximate weight in pounds? Note, 1 kilogram is approximately equal to 2.2 pounds. A. 123 pounds. B. 110 pounds. C. 156 pounds. Or D. 137 pounds. The correct answer is A. To find the correct answer, multiply Stella's weight in kilograms by the conversion factor for kilograms to pounds. Number 2. A woman wants to stack 2 small bookcases beneath a window that is 26.5 inches from the floor. The larger bookcase is 14.5 inches tall. The other bookcase is 8 3/4 inches tall. How tall will the 2 bookcases be when they are stacked together? A. 12 inches tall. B. 23 1/4 inches tall. C. 35 1/4 inches tall. Or D. 41 inches tall. The correct answer is B. To solve this problem, you'll need to simply use addition. The height of the window from the floor is not needed in this equation. It is extra information. You only need to add the heights of the 2 bookcases. Convert the fractions so they have a common denominator. After you add, simplify the fraction. Nursing and science go hand in hand. Much of medicine relies on scientific thought and experimentation in order to help people receive the medications and cures they need to manage their illnesses. In fact, you will regularly be utilizing scientific processes throughout your nursing career simply by knowing how the body works. By the time you finish your training, you'll know all about how vital signs should properly function and the various signs and symptoms of a wide range of illnesses and disorders. This will enable you to properly pinpoint and diagnose malignant conditions affecting the health of your patients. The TEAS includes a detailed 60-minute science test. The full section will feature 50 questions total, 6 of which will not be scored. The categories in this section are human anatomy and physiology, biology, chemistry, and scientific reasoning. The 18 questions in the human anatomy and physiology category deal with the biological processes of the human body and how its different systems function separately and in cooperation with each other. Here's a closer look at what you'll be asked to do. Demonstrate knowledge of the general orientation of human anatomy and describe the anatomy and physiology of these systems. If you want more info on the body systems, we have a playlist covering every one on our Mometrix Academy YouTube channel. The 9 questions in the biology category deal with various aspects of cell structure, protein structure, and microorganisms. You'll be asked to describe cell structure, function, and organization, describe the relationship between genetic material and the structure of proteins, apply concepts underlying Mendel's laws of inheritance, describe the structure and function of the basic macromolecules in a biological system, and describe the role of microorganisms in disease. The 8 questions in the chemistry section relate to various aspects of chemical reactions, atomic structure, acids and bases, and properties of matter. You need to be able to recognize basic atomic structure, know the physical properties and changes of matter, describe chemical reactions, demonstrate how conditions affect chemical reactions, understand properties of solutions, and describe concepts of acids and bases. The 9 questions in the scientific reasoning section deal with scientific knowledge on an elementary level. The skills you'll need for this section are to use basic scientific measurements and tools, apply logic and evidence to a scientific explanation, predict relationships among events, objects, and processes, and apply the scientific method to interpret a scientific investigation. Let's go over a few review questions for this section now. Number 1. Which of the following represents the depolarization of the atria? A. QRS interval, B. T wave, C. U wave, or D. P wave? The answer is D. Each heartbeat is seen as 3 major waves or complexes on an ECG. The heart rhythm begins in the sinoatrial node and leads to atrial depolarization. The P wave represents depolarization of the atria on an ECG. This is followed by the QRS interval, which represents depolarization of the ventricle. Next follows the ST segment and T wave, corresponding to the repolarization of the ventricle. A small U wave may follow the T wave and represents further repolarization of the ventricle. Number 2. Which of the following is not a pyrimidine base? A. Cytosine, B. Adenine, C. Thymine, or D. Uracil? B is the correct answer. The 5 bases in DNA and RNA can be categorized as either pyrimidine or purine according to their structure. The pyrimidine bases include cytosine, thymine, and uracil. They are 6-sided and have a single ring shape. The purine bases are adenine and guanine, which consist of 2 attached rings. Why is there an English section on a nursing exam, you may wonder? For starters, it will be your job to communicate with a myriad of patients, colleagues, and higher-ups on a daily basis once you officially begin your nursing career. In order to communicate effectively, you'll have to know the basics, which comes down to knowing how to write and form your ideas coherently. This will enable you to better realize how to respond to the various situations you'll encounter as a nurse. On a more immediate note, you'll also certainly be expected to write your fair share of essays and other reports throughout the duration of your nursing education. You cannot succeed and/or graduate without knowing how to communicate well. There are 37 questions on this portion of the test, 4 of which aren't scored, and you'll have 37 minutes to complete the full section, giving you 1 minute to answer each question. Each question in the section covering English and language usage falls under one of 3 categories: conventions of standard English, knowledge of language, and using language and vocabulary to express ideas in writing. To help you better understand what each of these categories means and how to recognize questions falling under them, we will go over all 3 individually. The 12 questions in the Conventions of Standard English category cover some of the basic knowledge, skills, and abilities relating to the Conventions of Standard English. The 11 questions in the Knowledge of Language category evaluate your comprehension of how language can be used in writing. You'll be asked to use grammar to enhance clarity in writing, evaluate if language meets the needs of a particular audience, and develop a well-organized paragraph. The 10 questions in the Using Language and Vocabulary to Express Ideas in Writing category test your ability to communicate your ideas effectively in writing by using higher-level vocabulary and grammar. You'll need to apply basic knowledge of the elements of the writing process to communicate effectively and determine the meanings of words by analyzing word parts. In a minute, we'll go over a handful of practice questions. But before we do that, don't forget we have full-length test prep resources if you need more help. We have an online TEAS prep course, a TEAS test study guide, TEAS practice tests, and separate TEAS flashcards. We at Mometrix Test Preparation care about your success and want to see you progress toward the nursing career of your dreams. Okay, now let's take a look at some practice questions. Number 1. Affect and effect would be considered which of the following? A. Homographs, B. Synonyms, C. Antonyms, or D. Homophones? D is correct. Homophones are words that sound alike or similar but have different spellings and definitions. A homophone is a type of homonym, which is a pair or group of words that are pronounced or spelled the same but do not mean the same thing. Number 2. Which of the following is correctly punctuated? The correct choice is D. Choice D correctly uses commas to separate expressions like he said and she said that come after a quote. Choice A is missing a comma after John Smith and before his title. Choice B contains the non-essential modifier who coaches the team, which must have a comma both before and after it. Finally, choice C is missing closing quotation marks after I want you to know and has an extra set of quotation marks at the very end of the sentence. All right, that's all for this overview. We hope you found this helpful and good luck on your test.